We're going to call our meeting to order. Dave, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, Madam Chair, if I fall off, don't laugh too loud at me. I'm right at the edge over here.
Well, you know me and my sense of humor.
I know you. She started throwing dirt on me.
Ask the clerk to please call roll.
Commissioner District 1, Randy Netherland.
I'm here.
Commissioner District 2, Kevin Schutte.
Here.
Commissioner District 3, Sharon Trask.
I'm here. Do we have any correspondence or organizational business?
Yes. Washington State Liquor and Cannabis Board sent in a marijuana processor license application for Anon Extractors LLC and OGZ Fireweed LLC. Joseph Meyer sent in an application for the Planning Advisory Commission. The Federal Emergency Management Agency sent in a letter regarding the flood insurance study report and flood rate map. And the Washington State Liquor and Cannabis Board sent in a liquor license application, a liquor application for added privilege on behalf of Leonard K's Boathouse in Allen and Eagle Creek Saloon in Lilywop.
Great. You know, I just love the name of these businesses. They just crack me up. All right, so we're moving on to item 5, but however, in response to the COVID-19 outbreak, we're suspending the citizens' input at this time. However, we do accept comment via email. You can send that to mdrury, D-R-E-W-R-Y, @co.mason.wa.us, or you can mail them to the Commissioner's office at 411 North 5th Street, Shelton, Washington, 98584. You can also call 360-427-9670, extension 419. Want everyone to know that we are live streaming this event. We're following the Attorney General's guidance, and so all of our meetings will be like this until this COVID-19 process is over. So let's move on to item number 6.
Madam Chair, I move approval of the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as written. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Item number 7.
Madam Chair, I move for approval of the minutes, March 17th, 2020, regular meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the minutes for March 17th, 2020 regular meeting minutes. All in favor? Aye.
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 And minutes are approved. We're going to move on to our action agenda. We are going to change, we're moving item 8.9. This was to approve the public health to hire an FTE temporary nurse position. That position is now being filled by a volunteer. So please thank her for us. Volunteers are very essential during this time. All right, I should have done this before. Commissioner Schutte, would you read items 8.1 through 8.4? Commissioner Netherland, if you could read items 8.5 through 8.8, and I will read 8.10.
Madam Chair, item 8.1, approval to pay Jessica Cohn and Donnell Arndt lead pay from March 9th, 2020 to May 8th, 2020 for performing duties of a higher classification. Item 8.2, approval of warrants and treasurer electronic remittances, claims clearing fund warrant numbers 807-1037 through 807-1307 in the amount of $995,685.39. The direct deposit fund warrant numbers 66858 through 67246 in the amount of $715,777.35. Salary clearing fund warrant numbers 7005075 through 7005098 in the amount of $500,027.10. Item 8.3, approval to authorize the Deputy Director of Utilities and Waste Management to sign a one-year contract extension with amendments for the sludge hauling agreement with AAA Septic Tank Pumping and Portable Restroom Rentals, LLC. There is no cost increase to this extension. And item 8.4, approval of the Mason County Telework authorized essential employees for community development, public defense, public works, utilities, and waste management and support services for the COVID-19 emergency.
Madam Chair, item number 8.5 reads, approval of the Mason County Disaster Declaration for COVID-19, which will expire 90 days after adoption, with the option to extend per authorization from the board. Item number 8.6, approval to allow the Planning Department to negotiate a contract with BERK Consulting, or Burke Consulting, I don't know which one this is, for the preparation of a planned EIS for the Belfair urban growth area. Item number 8.7, approval to pay Kel Rowan and Alex Pazey at a salary range 46, step 0, effective March 16, 2020, for working in a higher class due to the absence of the Director of Community Service because of COVID-19 assignments. This special pay shall be removed when the Director of Community Services is no longer working at Emergency Management. Item number 8.8, approval of amendment number 2 to contract CL 2019 through 2021.3 in response to the Washington State COVID-19 emergency. Total award, $49,235 for emergency housing.
And item 8.10, approval for the chair to sign a letter of support to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers regarding the Columbia River System Operators Draft Environmental Impact Statement, EIS. This is at the request of PUD 3 and has a due date of April 9th, 2020. So having read through today's action agenda, would you like anything to discuss anything or have anything removed? No? No?
Madam Chair, I move for the approval of the action agenda as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the action agenda as presented. All in favor, say aye.
I just wanted to make one comment.
Sorry.
At the risk of prolonging our meeting today, just a quick comment on the item 8.6, the negotiation of a contract with Burke on the planned action EIS. This is another, I think, important step forward for the Belfair urban growth area. This is an important environmental study that will help us determine where growth should go and ought to go, as well as updating some documents up there, some planning documents that are about a decade and a half old. And so this is another investment that I think not only will help us in the short term, but long term as we think about our recovery from COVID-19 and making sure that we have an economy to come back to in Mason County. So appreciate the fact that this is moving forward.
I'll disagree,
Okay.
because it's absolutely fantastic that
It
it's
is.
happening.
It is. We also did receive a statement from Ken Van Besker in support of this item as well.
And I think the other thing to note for folks that are at home is this has been talked about for a number of years and has been discussed going back to last year, I believe, with the Planning Advisory Commission, as well as again earlier this year when we met in a joint meeting with them. So this is something that's been in the works for quite some time, and it's good that we're able to move forward with it now.
This also might be the perfect time to remind people to please review the agenda and send your comments in if you do have comments. And that way we can include them. All right. Now, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Now we're going to move on to item number 9, other business. This is the time for department heads or elected officials to come forward. And I know we have Loretta.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Loretta Swanson, Mason County Public Works. And I'm here to share with you a traffic speed revision relating to the US 101 Coffee Creek Fish Barrier Removal Project. And per Resolution 647, enacted way back in 1976, the county engineer has the authority to post temporary speed reductions that are related to construction projects. And this is to notify you and the community that a temporary speed reduction has been posted for Hulbert Road as part of a detour associated with the Coffee Creek project. And the speed reduction is 25 miles per hour.
Do we have any place that's less than that that the county has posted?
No,
I didn't think so, because I have people that are requesting that right now, and
yes,
if that's not even in our policy, I definitely am not gonna push it.
25, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Dave, did you want to come up?
All right, keep it short.
It doesn't look like Dave.
Right. Dave has changed.
Yeah.
Did the mask rub it off or something?
Yeah.
Well, you know, I shaved it off because I was giving classes on how to wear an N95 mask, and you can't get a C over the beard, so I shaved it off so I could.
Looks like you're back to your command sergeant major days.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of lead by example and wear the mask correctly. So, and I keep mine with me everywhere. So, okay, I thought I'd bring you up to date on the COVID response through our Emergency Operations Center, which we set up March 4th. We have our mission statement, which is leading a community-wide response to the COVID-19 pandemic to protect our citizens, contain spread, secure resources, ensure rapid response, and keep the public informed. As of today, we've had 16 positive cases and greater than 485 negative results. One of the reasons why we have just a greater than number is because we have Mason General, who gives us very tight results every day. We get great results from Mason General, but we have people being tested in labs outside of the county, which is difficult to track. So we know what Mason General is doing, and then as we get negative results back, then we can roll up those results and make the data work out. We have 8 that are still pending out there. As of yesterday, we had 1 new case of male, and we had hit a peak last week of 5 cases, then 3, and we're back down to about 1 a day right now. So we'll see where this goes from here. And by the way, welcome to National Public Health Week. How ironic is that?
Where's my button? Oh, every year you bring me a
Yeah,
button.
I got a button.
Yeah.
Public health is essential.
You have to throw it at me from there, though, right?
So, yeah, we declared that at the first of the year, our first Board of Health meeting. We were going to do National Public Health Week for this week, and irony does not escape me. So, Instant Command is made up of, they're called ESF functions, emergency support functions. And let me just run through the list very quickly of who is out there and who's working on this. So we have ESF1, which is transportation, and Mason Transit's working with us on that. Communication, we have a number of communication organizations that are working with us to get messaging out. Public Works is there. Fire Service, we've relied heavily on our fire chiefs because they're out in the communities and have the ability to get information out into local places that are more difficult to reach. Emergency Management, which is where I'm working up there, and we're doing things such as looking at all the PPE we have on hand, looking at the burn rates for personal protective equipment, ordering all those things, and making sure that we have a coordinated plan, and we're looking ahead in the planning end of things. So we're not just doing the response now, we're starting to look at what do we look like in 2 weeks, in 6 weeks, in 9 weeks. What does that look like? What are the planning considerations we need to address over a period of time to get us back towards normal? So as of this week, we have data that shows that Washington probably hit its peak the first part of this week. And we're going to be on a glide slope coming down out of this. That doesn't mean it's time to relax, because the rest of the nation is not going to hit that glide slope down for a while yet. So vigilance is still going to be very critical here. I have to say that, I'll get back to this list in a second, but the businesses in Mason County have been just outstanding, I think, in their response. As you go around to some of the stores, retail stores, they're doing a gangbuster job in making sure that people maintain that 6 feet social distancing. I just couldn't be happier with what they've been doing. Housing, we are working on housing. Especially we had a couple cases that came up that kind of took us by surprise. What if you are homeless and sick, but you're not sick with COVID? Where do we put you? So we've been working with Community Lifeline, and we've expanded their bed capacity there. So they have 7 and 3 beds that are for sick other than COVID. We've spent a lot of time working on Building 10 to prepare it for overflow if we need to use Building 10. We have all the cots and blankets. We can stand that up as a treatment center or isolation or a quarantine center today. We're ready to go. We have the ability through Mason General Hospital to stand up 20 more beds. We have our own alternative care facility, which we've made arrangements to set up at one of the schools if we need it, and that's another 60 beds. So we have plenty of bed capacity that we've got set up, ready to go should we need it. So all we have to do is set up the cots and start to work. We've got all the food, everything is in place, ready to work those things should we need them. Resources, we're continuing to chase resources. That's one of our biggest problem areas, is getting resources from the state, because we're not a tier 1. We're down the road a little bit, so a lot of the resources are being sent to the counties with the greatest response: Snohomish, King, Pierce, even Yakima. So we're continuing to track those things. ESF 8 is public health, which is kind of leading the whole operation. And so public health is infused through all the pieces of Area Command. Dr. Stein has been working non-stop, it seems like, keep us on track through this. ESF 9, Search and Rescue, believe it or not, has had a function in this, in that they've had a couple people they've had to go out and retrieve who went hiking and had difficulties. Hazmat is there, energy is there, so the PUD is staying in touch with us, monitoring what we're doing with energy. Law enforcement is there. Long-term recovery, we're working with the EDC, the Economic Development Council, to work with us on. So as we come out of this and the light slope starts to come down and we have kids who are not going back to school, what are we doing with kids? What does long-term recovery mean for businesses? So they're working the process for grants and loans, and it's just a super resource for data on how to keep the businesses going, how to keep things up and running. Because we, like Commissioner Shue said, we want to have an economy to come back to. School districts are there with us every day, keeping us informed on what the school districts are doing as far as feeding kids and arranging for at-home education. So we're working with them. I'm heading out to Squaxin Island EOC this afternoon to coordinate our response plan with their response plan and make sure that we're cross-pollinating all the data as we should. Again, burn rates of the materials that we're using, gloves, masks, all those things we're tracking, and we're doing pretty good. Our ability to get more is limited, so we're starting to do some conservation of PPE, and we've asked the people who have N95 masks not throw them out, but to bag them and bring them back to us once they're visibly dirty, and we can get those recycled. The state's setting up a recycling or refurbishing center so we can get those cleaned and then back into use again. Every morning we have a command and staff meeting at 8 o'clock. I almost said 08. At 08 every morning, and then at 9 we have all the ESF functions get together and we talk via Zoom about all of our needs and try to coordinate all those resources and the activities for South Mason, North Mason. We've had this, I've been in a number of emergencies, and this is probably the smoothest command center I've seen function, and I think everybody was well prepared in how we work together. So it's been a very good experience.
I think Mason County is setting the example for others to follow. In fact, Mason County has been contacted by other counties to see why we're doing as well as we're doing. So.
Right. So we're keeping our rates low. I think the information is getting out to folks. We have videos that are going out every couple of days talking about what we're doing, and just in real detail. So today we'll have one out on how do you do a case investigation. So if a person is positive, what happens next? And it talks how our nurses go through the investigation. They contact the contacts and give them information, and kind of rolls all that up. So our public affairs folks are doing a great job of keeping that message out there and keeping the public informed.
Just two questions for you, Dave. One, if you can maybe cover why it is that we're not releasing location data for where we have positive cases. I know you had sent us some information on that yesterday, and I think that's a question I'm getting regularly. I'm sure Commissioners Trask and Netherland are as well. And then the second question that I have, it might be a little bit too early to say, but with the school year effectively over now, based on the governor's announcement yesterday, how long will schools continue to provide meals for students Are they going to continue to do that through what would have been the previous end of the school year? Kind of what sense are you getting from the districts on their capacity to continue to provide that between now and say when they would have stopped normally in June?
So that's a great question, and we're asking that question today because the governor's thing just came out yesterday, so we haven't had a chance to respond to that, and I'm missing the ESF meeting, which I'm sure that's being discussed. So I'll get that answer back to you.
Great.
So, and on the other, we've talked about this at length, and one of the things we have to consider is the patient's rights. And under HIPAA, we're not allowed to give out information that would identify a person's illness specific to them. It's personal health information, and we can't give that out. And because our numbers are so small in Mason County, it would be easy to identify a person if you gave out a location, especially with the small numbers we have. Now, as we go, start getting more cases, I can see us going to produce something of a heat map, perhaps, of here's where we have clusters. We'll come out with that, but until we get to a point where we have enough cases, basically anything under 10 are data suppressed numbers. So we would do that with STD cases. We did that with any number of infectious diseases. If it's below 10, they're data suppressed. So now that we're getting up there, now we can start putting out maybe a little bit more information. And that's part of what I'm going out to the Squawksons to talk about today is how do we do that in the proper way? Because we do have HIPAA rules to follow as well. So we're going to have a very open conversation about what does that mean for us, what does that mean for them, and to make sure that we're all on the same sheet of music.
I think one of the things that you've done a good job noting, as is Dr. Stein, has been it's almost immaterial where the locations of these confirmed cases are because it's throughout the community. And thinking that because I live in Union and there's a case in Shelton that I should be taking a different approach to this doesn't make sense. We should all be on the same page in terms of our approach to social distancing and limiting travel and saying.
Quite literally, it is everywhere. Mm-hmm. And what we saw early on was a trend of cases coming in from outside, and now we're starting to see the community transmission. So it is everywhere. It is in every population center we have in Mason County. So there's no place you can say it's safe, and we're going to avoid this place. It really is everywhere.
So, go ahead.
Or even more safe than the other. We've talked before. I ask every day about the numbers, and I understand why you're not putting them out there, but I still ask every chance I get. But the one question that we come back with is if somebody was to ask you if it's in the north, if it's in the south, if it's in the west, the answer is yes.
Yeah, it's there.
There is no answer on this. So no matter how much people push or I push, one thing that's real sad is when you get a call from somebody that is, and they're being told people are trying to find them, they're hunting them down, and they're calling them to find out if it's them, and it's scary for them. It really is. And just personally knowing somebody and hearing their story, I don't blame them for being afraid with some of the stuff I've seen posted. So, I'll continue to ask you, but I understand. I do.
Yeah. It's quite an experience being part of the EOC team. Daily meetings. You get tired and you can see the emotions start changing with people as the stresses get higher and higher. And so I think encouraging people to stay home, limit your travel, and then that'll help everybody save lives.
Yeah, people have asked, where can I stay away from to be safe? Yeah. Home is the best place to be safe.
Yeah.
So, and we're working this 7 days a week. We are meeting and talking every day. So, folks throughout the county, both government and non-government, are working together to keep people safe, and they're very dedicated to this.
What a team we have. I mean, honestly, they're just amazing people.
No matter what, it's always horrible. And there's no beautiful thing about this, but at the same time, 65,000 people, we have 16 cases. People contact me all the time, and I was talking to Dietrich this morning about it. If they hadn't closed down the schools, even if it was just a cold or a flu or whatever, which it's not, but even if that, how quick does that spread? We have 16 cases, 65,000 people. I have to admit, in the long run, it was the right decision because there's no way it would not. I don't know, you're doing an incredible job, and I appreciate your staff, and I hope we all also can recognize that all those people that are working in those stores for us, and they're working for us, they're taking a risk, and we got to remember that. And they may actually get it because of us or from us. The idea that they're out there doing that, if you get a chance, say thank you. Not to you guys, I know you do. For everybody else, say thank you, because think about that. Would you want to go to work? I already know they don't. I get yelled at from them. So thank you to all those superheroes that are working those stores to provide food for us, because we are not prepared. Even when we think we are, we're not.
I just have one other request. So I've been hearing from a couple of businesses who are trying to pull down some of the Small Business Administration resources, in particular the payroll protection program funding that is available. And apparently it sounds like there's some kind of a disconnect between what banks and credit unions are able to provide in terms of being able to tap into that money. So if a business is doing their banking through a credit union, it seems like the process is different than it is if they have a traditional bank. And so if we can maybe alert that ESF to those issues and get the EDC to continue to check in, but on that particular issue.
Okay.
Because I know, we have a pretty strong credit union system here in Mason County, and I'm sure a lot of businesses are on those systems versus the traditional bank. So they might be having some issues that will start to creep up as they desperately need access to these resources. So alert them to that. I'll be doing it as well, but I think if we can get it from multiple angles, it'll kind of highlight how
If
critical
we can
it
get it
is.
from here, then we can post it out through the Joint Information Center to everybody. So,
And Derek is supposed to be providing us with a one page on each of the issues, a one page flyer that we can put out. For example, for the small business, for the independent contractor, for each one individually. Be a lot easier than the 3 and 4 page drops that people don't see, to be able to figure out how it's being done.
And I know the EDC has a very good link or information on their site as well that can help people.
But I think I don't think it's not knowing where to go for the, I think there's an actual structural issue with how the legislation was passed that's preventing
you may have
access
mentioned
to-
banks specifically and not
Yeah,
credit unions.
yeah, I think, I've been hearing that, and so if we could just maybe run that down a little bit,
Okay.
yeah,
Right. Yeah, I heard the same thing.
yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
And one other thing for the folks out there in the audience, if you, the things that have been passed do give you some relief. If you, for example, have a mortgage, if it's government backed, you can, even if it's not government backed, you can ask for 3 months of exemption from it, dismissal, not a deferral, dismissal. They can do up to 3 months without having to go out. But if it's government backed, the federal government has now given the ability to defer 6 months of that. And if there's still an issue at the end of that, to defer another 6 months. And if you don't know whether or not you're government backed, ask your lender. Just call them and ask them. But you can be pretty sure you are if you paid less than 5% for your down payment. FHA is 3.5%. Fannie Mae is 3%. USDA is 0. VA is 0. All those are government backed. So if you paid less than 5% down payment on your home, the odds are you have government backed. And if you're in trouble, you can defer this without penalty, without any interest issues or anything. But don't use it unless you have to. You still have to pay it. People forget that part.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
Give our thanks to everybody up at the office too.
Yeah. Yeah. They're putting in some long, exhausting hours.
Yes. All right, thank you.
Look forward to that heat map.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to item number 10. This is our public hearing. So in response to the COVID-19 outbreak, we do accept public comment via email. You can send that to mdrury, MDREWRY @co.mason.wa.us. We're also, you can call in at 360-427-9670, extension 419. We have someone watching the phones. So if you do have comment, please either send an email or call in. All right, this is a public hearing. Ask staff to come forward.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
So
So this is a public hearing to inform citizens of the availability of funds and eligible uses of the 2020 Public Services Community Development Block Grant, or the CDBG, and receive comments on proposed activities, specifically funding the Community Action Council of Lewis, Mason, and Thurston counties, the CAC, as well as receiving comments on the 2019 program. Some background on this: Mason County coordinates with the CAC on an annual basis to apply for, receive, and provide services through a Public Services Community Development Block Grant administered by the Washington State Department of Commerce. In 2019, the funding was used to provide service referrals to a minimum of 6,000 individuals in Mason and Lewis counties, of which a minimum of 3,060 of those individuals must meet HUD's 51% income qualification and provide direct services and referrals to a minimum of 300 child victims. And just to let you know, Mason County received notice recently that an additional $126,878 in funding is available on the current grant, and the board will be briefed on Monday, April 13th on that funding availability. This year's allotment for the July 2020 through June of 2021 is $102,225, of which $3,500 will be used to offset our administration costs. And also to let you know, the CAC is currently closed to the public, but is available via email and phone or the web. You can visit their website at www.caclmt.org for more information. This hearing will solicit public input on the proposed activities and services to be provided, as well as comments on current programming. The recommended action is make a motion to approve the submission of the CDBG application, sign the resolution authorizing the submission and certifying the county's compliance with CDBG requirements, and authorize Frank Pinter, Support Services Director, to act as the Chief Administration Official for the CDBG program. Any questions or comments from the board?
Just a quick question for clarity. So we have 3,500 of this going to admin costs. Does this have a cap on admin?
3,500.
Is 3,500
Yes,
cap?
even with the additional available funding.
Okay.
Yes, that's my understanding.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
No, waiting for questions from the audience.
Do we have any emails, did anything come in?
I did not receive any, excuse me, any public comment on this.
Okay, can we check with Jen to see if any phone
Yes.
calls have come in?
I'll be right back.
So if you're at home right now, send it.
Give us a call.
I think it was Franklin County did that. They put a big sign up on their dais that said, call in, and gave a phone number and everything for people to call in.
Nothing's been received.
Nothing? All right,
Do you want to close that part of the public testimony?
we will close public comment and questions. Discussion or
Yep.
motion?
Madam Chair, I move, make a motion that we approve the submission of the CDBG application, sign the resolution authorizing the submission and certifying the county's compliance with the CDBG requirement, and authorizing Frank Pinter, Support Services Director, to act as the Chief Administrative Official for the CDBG program. Do you know how long it took me to be able to do that? The CDBG?
I know.
Just one of those ones that didn't flow.
Tongue twister.
I will second that.
Both?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second to approve the submission of the CDBG application, sign the resolution authorizing the submission and certifying the county's compliance with CDBG requirements, and authorizing Frank Pinter, Support Services Director, to act as the Chief Administration Official for the CDBG program. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. It passes. Okay, let's move on to item number 10, board reports and calendars. I'll ask Commissioner Netherland to go first, Commissioner Schutte, and then I will follow up.
All right, I had a conversation with Derek Kilmer and attended a elected officials meeting over the internet with them. Coronavirus webinars. It's a lot to ask a person. Our web meetings that we attend are hard enough. It's a lot different than actually showing up. But a 4.5 hour one that I had to attend for Wire 15, that's rough. That's just rough. They did give us, I think, 2 5-minute breaks in between.
So it's a glimpse into my future. For
Yeah, yes.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And so other than that, then I also had a meeting with the director of ARC, Finance Committee for ORCA. I had MTA policy meeting and left board meeting. I had received a phone call this weekend. They're putting together a group to go after monies federally in Gorst for that Gorst interchange. And they had called and requested that I show up on that. It's not officially Mason County, but does anybody have any issue with me doing that, or just asking? Okay. So I will meet with them on that. Have an ORCA meeting, a regular ORCA meeting, the Economic Development Council, another Corona webinar, the actual meeting of the ARC, and I don't know if it's for sure yet whether we'll have briefings or not. So then we'll start over and do it again.
Very good. A couple of things, just very similar to Commissioner Netherland. A lot of Zoom meetings, a lot of information. I was also on the conference call with Congressman Kilmer last week. Going forward this week, have a RIA 14 meeting. It sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun, as well as a State Building Code Council meeting on Friday. Earlier or late last week, the governor issued an order that suspended the implementation of the 2018 State Building Code that was adopted last year. It suspends it until November 1st of this year. That's a big deal for both builders and regulators on our side. Our staff was working really hard to get up to speed with all the changes in the code, and we're attending trainings in order to be able to implement that code on July 1st. Getting a few extra months will certainly help our staff as well as the building community as they kind of navigate some of the challenges that we're going to be facing over the next several months. I didn't agree with the code as it was adopted. I opposed it. There were a lot of issues in there that I thought made building less affordable, housing less affordable for folks. And so I'm certainly happy to see that the governor took this action, but we're gonna need to take every bit of those 4 months to prepare our staff to be able to implement that code in November. And then I guess we're back for briefings on Monday. No regular meeting next week, but it looks like I'll also have a Hooking Coordinating Council Zoom meeting, as well as potentially a Thurston Mason BHA meeting later next week. Thanks.
Good. Still keeping busy. That's awesome. So today we have a Mason Transit Finance meeting, and all of my meetings are Zoom, so they're cool, except for the EOC meetings. Every morning I have the EOC meeting and the ESF meetings, and Thursday I have a Timber Counties meeting, and also something that is pretty cool is Tacoma Pierce. They're every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 11 to noon. Their chamber gets together. They have a webinar with, like yesterday was Kilmer and Downmeyer, and they have businesses, and so it's pretty cool to see how people are coming together to look at the future. You know, how do we recover from this? So that might be something that you guys might want to look at also. And then I have every Friday we have the Washington State Association of Counties COVID weekly update, and then we're back here on Monday for briefings. All right, guess that's it for our
Madam
calendars.
Chair, I move we adjourn.
Second.
We're adjourned. Thank you, guys.